we're excited about playing a real game on tomorrow. Obviously, we've had a scrimmage, we've had an exhibition game, but all that we've been working towards in terms of a home opener, that's going to become reality on tomorrow night. Our players have worked hard in the off season. We've worked hard in some NBA style training camp practices when we were able to start official practice. Overall, the health of our team is in good shape except for one of our players, and I'll get to that in a minute. But we are excited. We got a lot of work to do. Coastal Carolina is a really good, well-coached team. Right? They are a really good, well-coached team. Cliff Ellis, you guys all know him. He's been doing it for a long time. He's done a nice job at Coastal Carolina, and he's got some players that, if they are not addressed with respect, they're going to embarrass us. So we got to be ready to play. We still have a lot of unanswered questions with some of our new guys that's never played for us, but we have a lot of confidence in them. And hopefully they'll have a lot of confidence in themselves and the preparation to get to this point. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Coach. Just raise your hand. We'll start with Cecil on the left.
Yeah, Coach, just to follow up on that. Oh, sorry, Coach. Just to follow up on, you mentioned something about the health of your team going into this game.
Yeah, everybody's good except Brandon Austin. In the Faulkner game, if you notice, he only played 4 or 5 minutes. He bumped knees with one of his teammates, so he has a left bone bruise in the knee, and he had an MRI earlier today. We're still waiting on the results, but he's day to day right now, and but again, he's been experiencing some tendonitis in both of his knees, but he has a left bone bruise in his left knee.
Let's go to the right side. We'll go over to Alex.
We've talked about the versatility before, but how are you kind of cross-training guys at practice to be able to switch from maybe the 1 to the 2 in between plays, or 3 to the 4? Like, how are you doing that, developing that in practice?
Yeah, great question. This year's practices, especially from an offensive situation, we may work on the same play with 4 different lineups. So, for example, we may have a player that Riley normally plays 3, but he works at the 4. Braxton, he can work the same play at 4, 3, and 2. Corbin can work it at 2 and 1. Dejon can work it at 1, 2, and 3. So the great thing about this year's team is, guys can move all the way across the board. Dante can play some 5, some 4. Bowler plays both front court positions. Jimmy's only a 5. But hopefully that'll make us a little bit more hard to scout. Hopefully we'll get better production because we have better ball handlers, decision makers, and hopefully we'll be able to execute a little bit better.
Stand right side. We'll go in the front row to Mark.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about the starting lineup. Is that 5 we saw start the game against in the exhibition? Would that be the 5 that starts on tomorrow night?
Not sure. Not sure. We'll make that determination after practice today. We got a lot of different ways we can go with our lineup, so we'll know more about where we're going with our lineup after today's practice.
Let's go to the left side. We got a microphone coming over to you, Michael.
What are the biggest differences you think people will see when they come out and see year 2 of Avery Johnson's team?
We have some continuity in our system, so hopefully our guys that were here last year, that was on a team that was, I guess, for a week, maybe was on the bubble, hopefully they'll come out and play with a lot more confidence early in the season, and we won't get stuck as much offensively because they know what they're doing. So guys like Jimmy and Dante and Riley, Even Dejon to a lesser extent. I know he only played in 7 games, but he's been a part of our system. And guys like Nick and AJ Jr., they didn't play last year, but they should know what they're doing. And so hopefully you'll see some because of the continuity, we'll be a lot more organized, especially offensively. And whatever calls that we make on the defensive end is not going to be brand new in a game setting.
Back row on the left to Stan.
Coach, you mentioned Coastal Carolina being talented and well coached. What are some of their main strengths? Are they a really good shooting team? Or?
Yeah, really good shooting team. When I'm looking at their roster, and Jalen Shaw and Elijah Wilson, first of all, they're 2 guys that can play on any level of basketball. And yes, they can shoot it, but boy, they can put it on the floor. And we have to rebound. We have to use our size and strength. They have another kid at Ray St. Cyr who's a versatile forward, nice looking player, really handles the ball, look more like a European style player. He can really put it on the floor, he can pump fake, and he's crafty. Jalen Robinson, their JUCO point guard, he's got a great looking body, similar to Corbin's. And they got some guys, some depth on their team that's had some experience in Coach Ellis' system. So this is going to be a tough game, and we got to be ready to play. Hopefully we'll get some good carryover from some of our recent practices. But if we play the way we played against Faulkner, which was a significantly low-rated defensive game, below average offensive game, it's not going to be good enough. Not in this game. Nope, not with these guys.
Go to the right side to Tyler.
Hey, Coach.
Hey Coach, is that the name of a show here called Hey Coach? I'm sorry. I was just trying to maybe get myself in a better mood.
You sort of touched around this with the versatility question earlier, but I know in the past you've talked about limiting turnovers. Having guys play multiple roles, how do you think that helps communication, and do you expect that to limit turnovers because guys know what the other players are doing?
Well, we're hoping that it limits turnovers, because if you have better ball handlers and guys that we're hoping can have a better assist to turnover ratio, instead of having 1 or 2 ball handlers and everybody else are not great ball handlers, we're hoping that leads to better production. Because what happens when one of those ball handlers are not in the game, then you got 4 guys that can't handle the ball. So that means your turnovers increase. So we're hoping if we have 3 guys on the floor, at worst 2 guys on the floor that are good ball handlers and take care of the ball, and the guys that are not great ball handlers pass it to the guys on time, on target who are, and get in the right spots with better organization, then we're hoping that we'll be much more efficient on offense. One of these days I'll show it to you on video, okay? Then you will really understand it.
I'll hold you to that.
You hold me to it. Yes, hold me to it. That's right. I try to keep my word.
All right. Alex.
You kind of touched on the offensive efficiency. Several players have kind of talked about how they have the green light, just to kind of pull up and shoot. We saw, obviously, Armand didn't hold back much in the exhibition game. Are you at all concerned about kind of just that free flow of is that something you're trying to create and you just want to, shoot?
Well, first of all, we want them to be confident, but there is a method to the madness. They can't just come across half court with 2 guys on them and launch a shot. We want what we call open windows, all right? We talk a lot about open windows. You have an open window in your range, take the shot. If not, put it on the floor, and let's try to create an open window for your teammate. So we don't want closed window threes. You can't make those. They're hard to make. Our minds come a long way in learning kind of that expectation, but that's okay. We recruited him for a reason, and it was very strategic. And what we saw in him when we were recruiting him, we knew we were losing Arthur Edwards, and so he's learning more how to take open window quality shots and specifically threes.
Do a few more questions. We'll go back over to Cecil on the left side.
Coach, have you had any feedback about attendance for tomorrow night?
From what I've heard, we're about 1,500 short of a sellout, and we're hoping if we get the same bounce that we got last year with all of the work we've done in the off season, hopefully those tickets will go pretty fast, and we can not only record as sellout, but hopefully everybody that has a ticket will show up, or not, if not, give it to somebody to attend the game. So, because it's going to be critical for us to, when we have sellouts, basically try to have at least 95% of the building filled instead of recording a sellout and only half the building filled. But that's still a work in progress. That's not going to happen overnight. We still have ways that we're going to have to continue to improve, how we, sell tickets, but that's a conversation for after the season.
We have time for another one or two questions if there are any. Go ahead, let's go back up to Mark. We have a microphone coming, Mark.
And before I answer this last question, thanks for your patience with the recruiting situation. I haven't commented on the recruiting for a reason. So thanks for your patience, and I look forward to seeing everybody hopefully tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And I will answer every question you have about recruiting. I've allocated more time than I normally do in this press conference for that press conference tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So thanks for your patience, because I want to be able to talk about every kid that's committed to Alabama, and hopefully we'll know more about where we are in recruiting by the end of tonight.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, you said you weren't in that great of a mood. What's got you down, Coach?
The main thing with our team is one thing I like about Jalen Hurts, I'm serious now. I'm not trying to stroke him. And obviously we don't know what's going to happen on Saturday, but I like that he takes care of the ball. Okay? And when there is a mistake, short memory. Ole Miss game didn't have the best first half, right? Bounce back. I love players that want to mature into mental toughness and embrace the reality of the situation. And we have to continue to grow in that area. And when we do, I'll be a lot happier.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.